Welcome, everyone, to Magical Aspirations, a podcast for magical people, where we aspire to gather all of the knowledge that magic has to offer. It's a place to illuminate and demystify all things magical. Well, hello, magical people. This is Reverend Raven, and we are ready for another exciting episode of Magical Aspirations. I am joined by my lovely co-host, Adreyauna.
Hola.
And our guest today, Miss Julie McGill, better known as Jules, the owner of Cosmic Gem, and she's going to give us some juicy tidbits about astrology. Welcome, Jules.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, we're really excited about this. Actually, we learned about Jules because she was putting on a Zoom class with the 2023 Astrology Highlights of the Year. And we all watched it, took tons of notes, printed out this amazing calendar that she's made. And we are just ready to dive right in and chat about astrology today. Really excited to talk to you, Jules. And quick question for you here about your background. Tell us a little bit, how did you get into astrology?
So I've always been into everything spiritual, everything metaphysical. That came from a pretty early age. I think I had my first set of tarot cards when I was around 12 or 13. My mom had a nice eclectic group of friends, and there was always a psychic at the Christmas party and so forth. So, despite having come from a Catholic family, I was exposed to a lot. I'm so thankful that, I had a lot of open-minded people around me. And at some point when I was working in restaurants, I had a girl who said, can I do your astrology chart for you? And I thought, yeah, sure. And at that point, all I knew was about sun signs, right? Meaning I am a Gemini. And, that's kind of the run-of-the-mill knowledge of astrology in our culture. And I had no idea what she was talking about, but that was a hell yes for me. So she brought me back this long written report all about me. And it was some years later that I pulled that back out and was realizing how much of it was accurate as my life started to pan out. And so I kind of dabbled in astrology, but it was really, maybe about 8 years ago that I started hard in my study of astrology. And then it was 2018 that I started my professional astrology practice. So around the time I went hard into astrology, I was in a pretty low point in my life. And despite having a law degree, despite having all of the privileges that I've had growing up and all of the support I could have asked for from my family and all of the mental power I needed to learn how to do whatever I wanted to do, I had no freaking idea why I was here. And it was so painful. And it was like I was forever grasping at things, trying to figure out what my purpose was or to feel like there was some sort of meaning to my life. And it was just like a rotating wheel. I'd try something new and I'd, cast it aside. I'd try something new and cast it aside. And when I started studying my astrology chart, I, came to the realization that there was a good reason I was that way. There was a good reason my life was kind of on a more elongated course. And in fact, now in my practice, I counsel a lot of people who have similar issues in their life and who have tried a lot of things and who, don't feel like they're finding their footing in their life, whether it's vocation, relationships, whatever else. And it's almost as if my talents and my practice kind of came on the back of all of that pain and hardship, which is what led me to astrology and which is what led me to say, oh my gosh, this has changed my life. It's changed my understanding of myself. How can I not turn around and help other people in their lives? It didn't make any sense to me how I could stop with my own personal knowledge of astrology, say, okay, my life's great now. I understand myself better. I understand my journey better, keep on moving. It's like, no, like this is it. This is an amazing tool that's kind of hidden in plain sight. And I want to use it to help people who have the same issues that I've had.
Amazing. I love the story. The fact that you have a law degree and then here you are in astrology. What?
Bizarre.
Yeah, But also, I'm curious, when you look back at kind of, you said 8 years ago is when you were really diving deep and being committed to astrology. Was there indicators in your chart transits around that time that would probably like, hello, girl, this is it?
Absolutely. I had Uranus going over the MC, the midhaven, which is, if you wanted to narrow it down into 2 words, it's like your career line, right? In your chart, it is the point in your chart that designates kind of your role out in the world and what you're doing. A lot of people would call that purpose. For me, I say purpose is your entire astrology chart. Right? Because we have inner purposes. What are we learning inwardly? We have relational purposes. What are we learning in relationships with others? And we have this outer purpose, which is like our gift to the world. What are we out in society doing? And with Uranus going over my MC, talk about an awakening. It was like a slap in the face, like, hello, wake up. This is you. This is who you are. Things are panning out the way they're supposed to. Instead of fighting, that you have all of these interests and are like flying like a butterfly from one to another, like lean into it. Come on. Like this is who you are. And yeah, I mean, of course, I looked back once I got deeper into astrology and I'm like, wait a minute, what was going on in my chart at that moment? And it's like, bingo,
I love to hear it. The stars are always just like, here's the map, here's what's going on. Love that. So I am interested to know kind of like where you are right now, kind of like what's coming up for you. And then of course we can definitely dive into kind of what's going on the broad people society level. But for you, where are you?
Sure. I just recently published a calendar for the year ahead. That was a project that I kind of started that without knowing how far deep into that I was going to go. I think there are a lot of products out there right now in terms of, astrological calendars and journals and things like that. But I had some ideas that I felt set me apart from anything that's out there so far. And I ended up creating that calendar, and that in a sense has kind of become my baby project right now. Of course, I always see clients on a one-to-one basis over Zoom, and that's nice. And from time to time, I do workshops, and Denise and we can talk about this later, actually have a workshop coming up in New Orleans in April. But in any event, besides the one-on-one consultations and doing workshops from time to time, this calendar has kind of become my new baby. And my goal, my aspiration is to really meet people where they are. And I hate to say take astrology mainstream, but in a way, like that's how I feel. I feel like I want to be able to talk to anyone about astrology, regardless of their interest level, regardless of their knowledge, right? It's how can I talk to you about what's happening in the energy fields around us that's affecting our day-to-day experience of life? And how do I put that in a language that you can understand, and that as you go through your day, you're going to be looking around you and thinking, aha, right? I see it. I see what she's talking about. I think astrology can help us navigate life moment to moment, almost unlike anything I've ever seen. And so I really want to try to tailor the projects that I'm working on to speak to as many people as they possibly can. And as much as I love astrology and astrologers, and I love going to the astrology convention, and I love taking my astrology classes online, I feel like sometimes the astrological education and products that are out there are throwing around Saturn and Jupiter and all, you know, just those words sometimes. Like my clients will go cross-eyed. They're like, I'm not used to hearing the word Saturn in everyday language, right? Like, they're like pumping their brakes, like, whoa, Saturn, whoa, stop, you know, it's crazy.
They're like, isn't that a car?
And, you know, but our brain does that. It like freaks out when we feel like we're not keeping up with what someone's talking about. And so I'm just really focused on how can I like wrap astrology into everyday language to help people navigate, you know, on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis, without turning people off, without getting too heady about it. I think astrologers, they love to like, you know, theorize about astrological concepts and all of this, but it's like, wait a minute, we need to talk to everyday people. You know, we need to make this accessible. And so that's my number one goal.
Hell yeah, I can get behind that. I just absolutely, first of all, Geminis, I'm an Aries. So Geminis are some of my favorite people. And it just makes so much sense for you to like cast this wide net and still keep it just deep enough to where you're connecting with people and giving them a chance to really synthesize all the like points, transits, planets, degrees that can help them to just navigate life, like you mentioned, on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis. So this is just so beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like, I just really love the way that you present the information in a way that's super accessible to people. I'm on your website right now, and something that like really tugged at my heart is like right there on the homepage, you have this astrology helps us discover the truth and the beauty of who we really are. Cutting down to the second paragraph, it says, understanding the specialness of who you are and living it is your purpose for being. It begins with identifying each intricate facet of self and finding some way to honor it in your life. This is the key to attracting your worth and finally feeling happy and whole. That sums it up in a nutshell, why we should learn about astrology, I think. That's super powerful.
Yeah. You know, we don't get to box up and put in the basement any piece of our birth chart. Mm-hmm. Our birth chart says what we have going on in our lives, right? On some level at all times. Mm-hmm. So, you know, every planet, every configuration, every piece of the birth chart is describing something that is our truth. And so while some pieces of our truth are not as convenient, are not as socially acceptable, are not as easy to integrate into the rest of ourselves, right? We are complex beings. And so there's many times where people have these little pieces of self that it's like, that doesn't help me. That doesn't feel like it helps me. It gets in my way. Can I ignore that? Can I get around that? And it's like, no, you can't, but I guarantee you can start using that in a different way. And all of those reasons why you think this is not good for you or not working for you are going to start to fall away. And so we have a lot of free will in how we use and how we honor our chart, but we don't have the option to not honor any of those little pieces of self. And so it's really when we start like, ooh, I wish I had a good analogy, but it's like, if we had 100 arms and we can start like reaching out those arms to fill every single little space around us, you know, that's fulfilling our birth chart, like making sure there's no corners of the room that are untouched, right? Like, can we expand ourselves to fill that chart totally and completely? And all of a sudden, we're not living sloppy anymore. I mean, that's probably really bad English right there. But, you know, it's like when we don't exactly know, when we can't articulate, when we can't pinpoint these pieces of self, then we're just kind of letting them happen. And we feel like life is happening to us when it's like, wait a minute, let's look at it. Let's define it. Let's talk about it. This is your purpose for being, is to figure this out. And it's so incredible. We have these tools that help us do it. So, you know, let's get to work. And I'm telling you, astrology has changed my life. It saved my life. I have never in my life been happier. And that is because of astrology, because I started leaning into those pieces of self that were really inconvenient and I thought the rest of the world's looking at her thinking, she's got a law degree, but somehow she can't figure out what she wants to do with it, or how she can make money, or how she can support herself, or how she can become stable. You know, that Jules, she's pretty smart, but she's just all over the place, pretty flying from one thing to the next, you know. And I thought that was how people looked at me, because that's kind of how I was using it, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was like, wait a minute, this is something to be proud of. This makes me unique. How can I raise this up? How can I master, you know, or elevate how I'm using these pieces of self and become the rock star version of me? You know, that's where I came up with the name, the Cosmic Gem. Like, we are all gems. We are diamonds. You know, what is the shape of yours? How can we make it shine? How can the brightest light, you know, emanate from you and everything that you're doing? And that may sound really cheesy, but shit, I get so pumped up about astrology.
You do say.
I love that. Yes.
It's always incredibly refreshing to hear someone talk about astrology in such a transformative way, and two, in a way of letting it work for you instead of you, and coming from a place of like, oh, I need to look at my chart to see how to like change all of these things about me, instead of, oh, let me look at my chart and see how all of these things are shining about myself, and maybe where can I give more tender love and care to. So I love this approach, and I think this is exactly what we need in this life, where everything is trying to change us and make us small and compartmentalized and blah, 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 blah. Like, we're over that. This is where we need to be.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I feel like the more that I've learned about astrology, the more open I've been to identifying and transforming those quote unquote negative aspects. Because, you know, we always talk about, you know, doing shadow work and how important it is and things like that. And I feel like the more I've learned about my chart, I've been able to identify some of those shadow components. Like, maybe that's why I feel this way about this certain thing, and how can I use that information to transform it?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that, and speaking to the shadow self. I mean, not to get, you know, too, I say astrological, but that's what we're talking about. You know, not to get too technical. That's a better word for it. Not to get too technical, but like in my chart, I have Venus on the MC, right? So that's how people see me. They're like, oh, nice, fluffy, harmonious, like, you know, she can kind of socialize well and fit in any situation and you know, can draw people to her and all of this. And what is on the IC, right, which is the base of the chart, which is the internal self, is Saturn and Pluto.
Oh, that's heavy.
So the inner self is dark. It feels dark. It feels evil. It feels wicked. There's a lot of like heaviness that's going on in the inner me that is not what people see. When I was doing my astrological training in consulting, you know, we were having to practice on each other's charts, and every astrologer who looked at my chart, they were like, whoa. Yeah, I mean, what you see is not what you get in a way. You know, there's a lot going on inside. And so that shadow part of self is not something, like I said, I get to box up. That's something I have to learn to live with. And so I have to make friends with the shadow, and I have to say, it's okay, you feel that way right now. I have to be that person's best friend instead of saying you're messed up. Right. Why are you thinking that way? Why would you feel that way about someone you love? I mean, you know, that's kind of the power of astrology. And it's really in those moments when I'm able to make friends with that shadow self that it doesn't have so much power anymore. Right? It's that like resistance argument you get with the inner self where it's like, stop being that way. That's where we get into trouble. And
it just becomes such a cycle of just consistent sabotage after sabotage after sabotage at that point.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Now I'm just like curious. I want to know your whole chart, but that's not where we're here. Oh man. Okay. So diving into the technical, the 2023, I know that you also you have your calendar that you did for the whole year. You have your blog where you go through each month. So recapping, we're like mid-Feb right now. What do we have coming up for the rest of this month?
We've got good stuff coming up. I mean, I'm really excited. The energy is really, really moving fast. I mean, we started 2023 with, you know, Jupiter moved back into Aries, and in theory, that's busy. That's go, go, go. That is, you know, foot on the brake, enthusiasm, excitement, all those things. But because we had Mars and Mercury both retrograde, the energy was super slow, and it got tough around the time that those two planets came to a stop and began turning around. People were just dragging. I mean, I was getting texts, emails, calls from all over the place saying, what's going on? What's wrong with me? You know, and all of this. But it's changed now. You know, Mars and Mercury turned around. They're moving forward. They're gaining speed. And that Jupiter in Aries is really empowered now. And it's wild. It's fun. It's exciting. It's enthusiastic. It's a lot of things. It's probably a lot of chaos too, right? It's like there's so much going on right now. And we're feeling like this enthusiasm, and we're pushing forward, and we're breaking free of some of the astrology that we've been dealing with for the last couple years that really had us feeling stuck. You know, it was like even people who were making big headway in their lives felt stuck, but we're not there anymore. And so, you know, from right now through the end of February and into next month is a super exciting time. And in fact, I'm not sure when this will be posted.
It's going live. Yeah. This coming Tuesday.
Okay. What's that date? Let me look. That's the 21st.
Yeah, it's Mardi Gras, baby.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So the 21st, that is right after the new moon. And so this new moon, it falls on the 19th or the 20th, depending on a person's location, right? So you can always look that up online, you know, the when the new moon is for your local time. I guess it won't matter because it will already have been passed. But this new moon is a new moon in Pisces, and Venus is also in Pisces, and near the new moon, but not in the sign of Pisces. Saturn is still in the sign of Aquarius. We have Saturn sitting there next to the new moon. And that is so powerful because the new moon, right? This is the beginning. This is seed potential. This is giving birth to something new. And Pisces is such a dream-oriented sign, right? It's this sign where if we can go there, we can become really good manifestors. Because with Pisces, we're able to feel the feeling of what it is we want to manifest before it's here. And that's the trick to manifestation, at least for me. How do I tune in to the feeling of what I want to create now? Summon the magic of the universe to take me there by telling it where I want to go. So I love this new moon because, again, we have this great creative, visionary, dreamy fantasy world of Pisces where we can kind of dream and envision what it is that we want to create next in our lives without the normal like boundaries and, you know, well, if I want to do this, I'm going to have to do X, Y, and Z, and there's all this red tape and blah, blah. Forget about it. You know, this period coming up with this new moon in Pisces is setting us up to just connect ourselves to the vision, to the fantasy, to the feeling that what we want is already here. And Saturn, which represents the physical material world, is there to help give us ideas about how we can make it happen. Right? So it's like we're putting together the physical and the non-physical in this new moon. And I love that. I mean, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's an incredible combo.
Yeah. You know, I say like there's a little more magic available right now than usual, you know, because we have kind of physical and non-physical sitting together at that new moon. And then next month we have a new moon in Aries, in the first degree of Aries. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right? So let's explain that more. This new moon is great for fantasizing and envisioning what it is that we want to create. Okay? Then the next new moon in Aries, particularly being in the first degree of Aries, that first degree is like emergence into the physical realm. Right? Like emergence into reality. It's the first degree of the zodiac. It's where, you know, a spirit goes from being part of the ethers, from the primordial soup, and is birthed into a body, a baby that like screams and cries, like, it comes out, right? Wailing. That's what that degree of the zodiac represents. And so we're kind of in the phase now where it's like we have this opportunity to really dream big. The planets are positioned very well to give us the energy and the enthusiasm as we get through the end of February and into next month to really like start giving birth to whatever it is that we want to do. I love these two new moons. I put in my calendar for the year for people to be awake during these full moons, set up a ritual, you know, like do something to symbolize your intentions related to whatever it is you want to manifest or grow or the feelings you want to move towards. This is a super powerful time in terms of manifestation. I know you guys love magic and manifestation and knowing how the universe works and kind of cooperates with us and is trying to help us align our dreams into reality. And I think this is just such an incredible time for us to be doing whatever practices resonate with you, you know, do them on these 2 new moons. So that, again, that Pisces new moon was the February 19th and 20th. And then that Aries new moon is right around the spring equinox on March 21st.
Yeah, I actually was just going to bring that up as soon as you're finished talking. As I was looking at the calendar and I'm like, oh, it's right before the equinox. And we're talking about, you know, bringing it into the physical realm, the manifestation of that. I love that symbolism and ideology for Ostara and the spring equinox. It's, you know, things are coming to life. The things we planted are coming to life.
Right. Exactly. So this is such a powerful time. I mean, I absolutely love it. You know, as an astrologer, there's so many things that we can talk about. And I'll tell you that I don't talk about the lunations in every single one of the newsletters I write. There's so much to talk about, you know, but these are 2 lunations that really stood out to me and were so symbolic of this, you know, the dream, the fantasy, the ideal really coming into physical form. You know, like our dreams are growing legs now, literally. Like we're grounding those ideas so strongly. So that's one of the things that I would say about this coming period. And there's, you know, even more to talk about too. Do you have any thoughts on that? Those new moons?
I'm really looking forward to them, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. I love this new moon in Pisces energy. I'm thinking about it in relation to kind of just like what's been going on in my life, what I've been seeing for people around me in my circle. And it feels like exactly what you said. People have been stuck in so many different things, and it's been specific areas for certain people, whether it's like career or it's relationship, but ultimately a lot of it had to do with like the root of like, who am I and how do I want to express myself? And so I can see the people around me kind of just like having this breakthrough of like finally the chain of just like holding myself back or shame, guilt, whatever you want to call it, feels like it's released off of me. And this new moon sounds like the exact thing to kind of just like relish in the beauty that is the unknown and the thing of like no boundaries and what that even means for us as dreamers. And I love how you said like this is the perfect time to like plant the seed, or let the seed be planted instead of you like walking into the action and just kind of like existing and being. And then this coming in with the new moon in Aries is just like boom.
Precisely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like every astrologer that I've been like following and reading about, all of the forecasts for 2023 overall, like literally everybody has said like towards the end of March, the things are going to be going, you know, the seeds that you've planted and the things that you've been tending, it's going to go.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool just to see, you know, from different people's perspectives on how they read the astrology coming up, that no fewer than 10 different people I have read said that.
It's a really exciting time. And, you know, I love what you were saying about this, you know, how do I express who I am better? I mean, that's what Jupiter and Aries is all about. So these new moons are, you know, they're helping to kind of channel this deeper underlying theme of self, you know, and of purpose and of who am I and how do I like express that out into the world, into my community in some really purposeful and beautiful way. And after this new moon in in Pisces, which again is February 19th or 20th, almost immediately Venus goes into Aries. And Venus in Aries means both Jupiter and Venus will be in Aries for several weeks. And those are in astrology what we call the benefic planets. So these are very fortunate planets. They are trying to help us, right? They're trying to help us find our voice, find our purpose, find how we can express our talents better, self-promote. I mean, the time between, so we're talking, I'd written it down here. So right after that new moon on the 20th and up until March 16th, I mean, talk about a powerful time right there. You know, this is a great time to schedule work on or circulate or publish anything that you want to use to promote yourself. Right? Like, I'm telling you, like, if you have an offering, put it out there, like post pictures on your social media, ask for that raise, you know, do something outside the norm, have the balls, you're going to get noticed. You know, like these planets are really helping us and giving us some charm, giving us some appeal where we can, like, you know, come across in the right way. And you know, this is just really high value time with that undercurrent of luck and opportunity. So it's a super exciting time. I'm telling people right now, there are two things you can do wrong. One is setting your sights too low.
Okay.
Don't do that. Number two is setting your sights in too many directions.
Oof.
Yeah. Okay, feels.
Right? So when we're trying to manifest, what do we need? Simplicity and clarity.
Yep.
You know, like we don't say, oh, I want to manifest a nice car and a house and the right job and a partner. And it's like, wait a minute, like, let's narrow this down to what feels most important for us to feel happy and get a better foundation for our lives and get moving in a good direction and trust that all those other things are going to start coming, you know, falling into place afterwards. So, you know, aim high, but aim in one direction.
Wow.
Ooh, there we go. Okay.
I like that. This is, I'm cracking up while I'm taking all of these shit tons of notes because I have been in my head so much about like, what do I want to do with my business and like, where am I going? And just like tossing around all these ideas and feeling so stuck. And then finally, thank God, I found someone to help me strategize. And we literally just had a conversation about we need to focus on this one offering. We need to build it. We need it to be strong. And we need to put you out there to, you know, let this offer shine instead of what I currently have, which is just like 5 million fucking things. And this timing so aligns with how we've been planning, like what it looks like if we launch it, color scheme, and just like all the things. So I am just like mind blown.
Yeah. Astrology is real.
It's real. I love the stars.
It is. This could be a great time for you to, you know, launch that. Absolutely. You know, put that out there, or at least like you said, start planting those seeds. Start thinking about how you want that to feel. I mean, something that I would recommend, you know, for anyone who doesn't have a lot of clarity, which is okay. You know, it can sometimes be really hard too, to not have clarity in this sort of astrological moment because there's so much push.
Okay, yeah.
And it's like when we're enthusiastic and we're feeling a push and we're not clear, that can be really painful.
Absolutely.
So something that I really enjoy doing, and boy, is it the season for it with Jupiter and Aries, is watching some documentaries on Netflix or Hulu or whatever else about entrepreneurs, about people who made it big off of their dreams.
Oh, yes.
There was one I watched recently, and I'm still like mind blown that I enjoyed it so much. But the documentary about Hugh Hefner was absolutely mind blowing. I mean, this guy started Playboy magazine with like $500.
Wow.
He had nothing. He had nothing. And he talked about kind of his vision and how he created what he created, which I really didn't know a lot about. I'm thinking, oh, it's a pinup nudie magazine, right? Like I didn't really understand the depth of the social message and all of these like kind of moral ideas that he had. And when I watched it, I was just really mind blown, and it was so inspiring. And I kid you not, I got ideas about my own product watching that. Because I saw what he did. He believed in himself. He created something that he would want to buy. And when we can back ourselves that hard, like we can't be stopped, you know?
Yes.
So it's not about me creating an astrology journal that like everyone else wants, because when I do, I get pulled away from, you know, my own uniqueness and my own creativity. And I need to be 100% behind it for it to be all that it can be. Right. So like, you know, if people don't have a clear vision right now, I really want them to know that that's okay, because this is a time of planting seeds. And a lot of times when seeds are planted, we don't know. And we don't, you know, we don't. What does a seed is like this little speck. It's like you have no idea that's going to grow into a bush, you know, a rose bush or a whatever it will become. So it's not always about knowing. If you're not clear on how you're going to get there or what it is you're going to do, again, just go back to focusing on that feeling.
I love that. Thank you personally for that message. It's really hard as somebody who likes to have a plan and likes to be in control. I like to always know what the next step is. And that's been really difficult right now because I don't know exactly where I want to go. And also don't know the exact direction I'm being pulled in. But I'm trying to let go. My lesson so far of the year is the word surrender and patience. So I'm learning those lessons, that I'm planting the seeds, I'm going in the right direction, I'm doing the work that I can do. So when the time is right, I will be able to blossom.
Absolutely. And, you know, I talk to clients who go through Neptune transits a lot, because Neptune transits can be like walking through the fog, literally for years of your life, walking through the fog. It's like, I can't see but 5 feet in front of me. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know when this feeling will end. You know, it can be really, really, really difficult.
How often? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, how often do people go through Neptune transits?
It depends on how their chart is set up. So everyone goes through what we call a Neptune square around the age of 42. So that's a given, right? But
I'm almost there.
Yeah, me too. But depending on how your chart is laid out, I mean, let's say that you have your sun in the final decan of Pisces. Well, Neptune's there right now, and Neptune moves slow. So it is kind of there, and it lingers and it lingers and it lingers, and you think you have an idea, and then it fades away too, right? And so that's kind of the experience of Neptune. It's very, it ungrounds us, you know, and we can kind of feel like we're floating and we don't know what to do with ourselves, or the things that we were doing don't seem to like have any appeal or meaning anymore, and all of this. And Neptune transits are some of the primary reasons clients find me.
Wow.
They don't know that. They don't know that. All they know is how they feel,
Right.
That's incredible.
But, even that feeling has a purpose, right? That is source, spirit, whatever you want to call it, wiping the chalkboard clean. It's like when we presume to know where we're going and, how we can serve our clients and, what our job even is, right? What our gift is and how we use it and all of these things. Like, it's hard for spirit to redirect us.
Yeah.
Because we know too much.
Right. We're stuck in that.
And so it's kind of like that ultimate wiping the board clean so that something totally new can be born. So those like periods of darkness where it's, like I'm uncertain, it's like, okay, just lean all the way into that.
That's tough. My mind just connected to the fact that you said that it's at least around when people are 42, the idea of a midlife crisis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just like dropping everything that you had before because whatever reason you're being led in a different direction.
Yeah. We have several astrological transits that we go through in midlife. I mean, that is a midlife crisis. I mean, it's these events that line up around midlife for every single person. We also have individual transits which happen at different periods of time for every person. But those midlife crises, they happen for everyone.
Yeah. And that would probably include a Saturn return around 30-ish too.
Yeah, so we have our Saturn return around 30. Then we have a Saturn square around 35, Then we have a Uranus opposition and a Neptune square in our early 40s. And it just keeps going, but those early 40s can be kind of rough with both of those things happening at the same time. So
buckle up.
Yeah. But it's honestly those periods of time that we come through as the butterfly. Those are the moments in time we really get to reinvent ourselves and transform ourselves. Like that's an opportunity that is very valuable. And when, you're 90 years old, 100 years old, and you're laying there thinking about your life, it's those moments when you realize, like, I'm so glad it happened how it did.
Nice.
So these times we go through really difficult astrology transits, they have so much purpose, and we can't see what it is when we're in it. And so that's kind of what the trick is how can I be kind to myself while I'm in the middle of this? I can get an astrologer and I can say, hey, about how long is this going to last? Like, this is the way I'm feeling. This is what I'm going through. The astrologer is going to say, yes. And here's a whole other list of things that you might be encountering or feeling or events that might pop up in your life during this time. And it's going to last for about, a year and a half. And there may be some key dates specifically that we can look out for, but no, you're going to get through this. This is, and when you do, then you start to see what it meant. And so how can you be kind to yourself in this moment?
Absolutely. Man, I wish they would prescribe astrology readings for several points in our lives, because I'm sure it would be incredibly helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, only now I'm like starting to really understand, like, oh, look at all of this information here. This would have really helped if I knew this like 10 years ago.
Yeah. right?
Very much that.
But reflection is, one of our greatest tools. So
100%, 100%. Well, Jules, tell the people what you have going on so they can come reach you, get readings, all the things.
I would love that. So I have the 2023 calendar on sale. It's $25. It's a digital download. Although I did just order prints and copy. This is my first time publishing anything. So I have no idea how they're going to turn out, to be honest. So I offered it as a digital offering, but it's out there. And in that, I give horoscope information for all of 2023. And in fact, some of that information is relevant even through 2026. So even if you're hearing this in March, April, or May, it's still going to be worth the purchase. I've also broken down 2023 into energetic segments, which is something that I had not seen done on any astrology calendars before. So most of them are traditional, like January, February, March, April, May sorts of calendars. And I thought that it made more sense, since I am an astrologer, to break the year down into energetic segments versus calendar periods. So that's what my 2023 calendar does. So if anyone's interested in that, my website is thecosmicgem.com. And if you want the calendar, then you'll do a /2023-calendar. So thecosmicgem.com/2023-calendar. And my website's just thecosmicgem.com. And if you come there, you can read all about, who I am, my services, my prices. You can sign up for my free mailings. So I do free forecasts once a month that usually come out on the first of the month. So on April 8th, I'll be having a live workshop in New Orleans with another astrologer, Denise Hancock. And that workshop will be about relationships. We actually don't have a title yet. We just booked our venue to hold that. Again, that'll be on April 8th from 11 to 2. And that's in the city of New Orleans. So if anyone's interested in that, follow me on social media, because I'll be posting a lot more about that coming up, more details, including the cost and what all we'll be covering and so forth. So on Instagram and on Facebook, I'm Jules the Cosmic Gem, and Jules is Jules. So at Jules the Cosmic Gem, you can find me both on Facebook and Instagram. And I really hope people follow me and start taking advantage, at the very least, of my free material and a workshop if it comes along, and my calendar. And yeah, I just, this year I'm doing the Jupiter and Aries thing too. I just want to make new connections, expand my network, get more people on my free mailing list, and, help astrology help others. How can we start using astrology to really love ourselves more, serve our purpose better, and understand life more as we kind of go through the cycles of up and down and back and forth. And it's really beautiful when we start sinking to life, sinking to the flow of any given moment. And that's what astrology can help us do.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that. Okay, one last question for you, Jules. Where are you currently residing, and is there an astrology community in that area?
So right now I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. Prior to living in Louisville, I was living in New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I came back to Kentucky literally 2 weeks before quarantine. So my brother and his wife were having their first baby, and I am not having my own kids. So I thought, I'm going to go home and be the crazy aunt for a little bit. And so I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm not really sure of the astrology community here. And I went to 2 conventions last year that were actually in Seattle and Denver. And while I was at one of those conventions, I met another Louisville astrologer, but I haven't had the opportunity to connect with her. I've actually been connecting with some other types of practitioners in the city, specifically a girl who practices Reiki. I think she and I are going to start doing some events together. A lot of my community has been online community. I work with a shaman of the Peruvian tradition, and he's down in Mexico right now. I'm working with Denise, and she's in New Orleans. So I haven't done as much probably like on the ground in my physical community as I could, but I'm definitely starting to get out there, and that's one of my goals for this coming year.
That's amazing. I actually grew up in central Indiana, and whenever I was up there, there was not a very big magical community. So it's kind of cool to hear that you're in Louisville now, and that maybe there's some other people that are looking for like-minded friends.
Yeah, I think there is. There's more of us all the time.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. We love the community aspect and just bringing people together, in different ways that they can practice with one another, and really think that it helps just to know that you're not alone. You might be weird, but you're not the only weird one out there.
Love it. Oh, this has just been so informative and homey and just all the things, all the juicy things. Thank you so much, Jules, for coming.
You're welcome. I appreciate you inviting me so much.
Yeah, this has been a blast. I laughed. I cried. I took a lot of notes. But yeah, I just want to thank you again, Jules, for being a guest with us this evening. And we look forward to maybe having you back in the future, maybe a few months down the road, and we can talk about some more things coming up and maybe some lessons that we've learned in the middle.
I'd love to do it.
Yes. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to go ahead and sign off here and say, stay magical, everyone.
Stay magical. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Magical Aspirations. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Magical Aspirations to keep up with the latest and the greatest from Annalisa, Adreyauna, and Reverend Raven, and to join in on the Magical Aspirations conversations. Come check out our website, magicalaspirations.com, to find bonuses from our guests, our Magical Aspirations blog, and to reach out to our magical hosts with questions, comments, reviews, or ideas for future episodes. We are so grateful for each and every one of you listening. Thank you again, and as always, stay true to your magic.